What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Inside Post. This weekend, September 20th, we have the Great Pennsylvania Derby at Parx Racing for a Grade 1 stakes race that looks to be shaping up for Breeders' Cup possibilities for a couple of contingents in there. And we will also take a quick peek at the cotillion for fillies, as we have 15 races lined up for the Pennsylvania Derby card out at Parx, so it looks like a really good day for some horse racing. So we'll go through these two races, give you our top pick, a next up contender, and a long shot play. All right, so kicking it off, race 1. Yes, the cotillion. This is for 3-year-olds in here, going a mile and 16th. Kind of like the Walsh horse in here right now, number 3, Clickowit. To beat out Scottish Lassie, who is the 9-5 heavy favorite in here for Abreu with Joel Rosario aboard. We have a couple other contenders in here that this race is pretty tight. I mean, you got Indy Bay with Saffie Joseph, Tyler Gaffleone. We got Good Cheer, Brad Cox, and Luis Saez, and La Cara, again, Mark Cassie, and Dylan Davis at 7-2. So, value-wise, going to try to take a shot in here with this 3-horse Walsh and not Irad Ortiz. I think Walsh could go a double here, playing into his contingent into the Pennsylvania Derby as well. So I like to double that up and see what we can get. But again, some really good horses to the inside of her, La Cara and Scottish Lassie, both looking fabulous coming into this cotillion. However, long shot, I guess, is kind of what our play is going to be in here. The 3 currently at 8-1, but I don't see this horse being 8-1 whatsoever. And I think that's just really great value right now on a Walsh runner that seems to be running really well. So we'll see if we can get that value, get that play spot at 8-1, and then kind of round it out with Scottish Lassie, La Cara, and possibly Good Cheer underneath. Okay, so now, obviously, the bigger race in here. The Pennsylvania Derby, the Grade 1 stakes race, going a mile and an eighth for several contenders. As of now, this is Thursday that we're making the video, so we have 2 days, hopefully, to keep all these runners in here and running. As you can see, we got a lot of short prizes in here. Two big ones that kind of stick out in Happily Delusional at 30-1 and Out of Belly at 50-1. So we do have some big long shots in here, but I think the lower contingents or the lower odds have the rightful so of winning and hitting the board in this race. So looking ahead, number 1, So Sandy, Omaha Beach, Sherry DeVoe, Kendrick Carmouche, 15-1 on this one. 124,000 earned. Took 5 tries to break the maiden there at Horseshoe Indy. I believe it was in May. Did go 2 turns. However, small field, only 7 horses. So Sandy had to run with in there. And then second, last time out, I do believe, which was just restricted for 3-year-olds, not a graded stakes race. Probably going to be one to leave off of the card in here. I do like, Chavot, Carmouche, but I just think that the other contenders in here have way more class, way more graded stakes ability than this one horse. 2, Altabelli, another, I like the pedigree out of Authentic. I just think this one's going to have a tough go at it so far. Really struggled to find the winner's circle. Comes from Delaware Park, I do believe. His first start going 2 turns. Just could be something that's maybe a pace horse or a horse that just gets left in the gate kind of early. Number 3, Magnitude, Steve Asmussen, Ben Curtis. This one is a tricky one to put your finger on for sure. We saw what the horse was able to do early in the Derby prep season, beating out Sovereignty, and then come, unfortunately, with an injury in there. In the Traverse, he did go the early pace, but gave way, obviously, to Sovereignty, who just seems to be the horse right now. But I think this is going to be our pace right here. Magnitude getting out of the gate early. I don't think he's going to have any issues to his inside. I think he'll be able to blast out of the gate and beat So Sandy and Out of Belly. Definitely at 6-1. Kind of a sneaky play, especially if we can get this one on the lead and to kind of round out, our top 3. 4, you have David of Athens, Tyler Gaffleone. Here's another Walsh horse. but probably the second choice of the Walsh horses for sure. This one's going to be 12-1 for Nyquist. Debuted, I believe, at Keeneland back in October. Was a big odds. Field of 12 in there. That was Patch Adams, and he finished third. Took some time off through the winter. Came back in an allowance at Churchill Downs. Broke slowly, just nothing whatsoever. Was just raced entirely too wide. And then comes back in another allowance, I do believe, later in summer. I think this was at Ellis Park. Going a mile in there as well in a field of 5 on the front end. So, could be a pace horse in here for Walsh. Could kind of throw a wrench into things depending on magnitude to his inside. I just think magnitude probably has a little bit better of an edge. And this one is just going to take all it can get to kind of run with some of these early type speed horses. The biggest odds horse in here possibly could be happily delusional. Probably not going to take a whole lot of money. One site has it here as 30-1. Another couple sites have it at 50-1. So kind of a big number horse in here. Paco Lopez gets the mount. Did break its maiden going 2 turns at Parx. So it was like the home court horse staying here from Parx. So kind of what's going for that one. Just definitely going to be a big price horse that has does have a little bit of graded stakes, I guess you can say. 4th in the Tessio, 7th in the Peter Pan, 4th in the Smarty Jones. So really doesn't hit the board, but has been running with some of the contingents, but just nothing to show for it whatsoever, giving him that 50-1 odds. 6, this could be your second choice on the board, maybe third choice, depending on how bettors are swayed. Goal-oriented, number 6, 5-2, Bob Baffert, Irad Ortiz. Again, this one, we kind of, I don't know, tough to put your finger on this one. Broke its maiden at Santa Anita and then followed it up at Churchill Downs in an allowance race on Kentucky Derby Day. Again, sloppy track. Did go to the Preakness, had some trouble, and then kind of just ran out of 4th. The Haskell pressed the pace, did finish 3rd in there, so this one is kind of getting, that uptick of his last start. But again, he's got to run against Baeza. He's got to run against Gosger. Moplex to the outside, another really good horse. So he does have some contingents. He does have that early ability to go pretty quick. But this one's kind of sitting off for us again in that 3 spot, just kind of rounding out that trifecta or even a superfecta, just because I think there's some other horses in here that are in better form right now. 7, Big Truz. Brian Lance, Javier Castellano, 10-1. Love the Justify pedigree on this one. First timeout winner at Keeneland in April. Big field of 11 there, and he beat him by 4 lengths. He was 7-1. Then followed it up second place in an allowance on Derby Day. Again, was beat out by Patch Adams there. And then comes into the Woody Stevens, finished 3rd. 6th in the Indiana Derby, so he has been all over the place. I would say the career best probably is in the Ellis Park Derby. Pressed the pace and drew off to win by 7 lengths. So if this horse gets to the lead, he's dangerous. Very dangerous on the lead and can just kind of walk the field. So Big Trust kind of coming in with David of Athens as our long shot play. I like Big Trust better just because he's got a little bit of speed early that could be somewhat dangerous. And then kind of following it up with possibly Magnitude as our third, second place horse. Now, obviously, Baeza. What do you do with Baeza? 2-1 in here for John Sheriff Hector Barrios. I do kind of like that the horse comes off of somewhat of a layoff. Last seen Saratoga in July, so that's kind of should help him here. Comes in as the favorite, currently 2-1. And of course, he's been beaten out by Sovereignty now. So I think this horse could be a really great runner. He doesn't have to go against journalism. He doesn't have to go against Sovereignty. He does have some speed. He looks to be one that could be coming into his, late 3 or 4 year old season. Just kind of a late bloomer, if you would. But he's got to show for it. He's got to do something here besides, getting a second place or getting a third place. So we'll see what he's able to do if he can beat out the contingents of Gosger or even Goal Oriented, who he's kind of, been around before. So we'll see if he has what it takes. Again, this one's going to fall short. This will be our second pick in here. Number 9, Gosger, 4-1. Probably kind of figured this one, as we called it earlier when we talked about the cotillion, doing the Walsh double. I like Gosger. I kind of like how he came out of the Lexington at Keeneland. And then the Preakness, 15-1, 5-length lead at the stretch, and then just journalism. Got him. But I thought he did really well there coming into that type of field and that type of class. Same thing in that Haskell, took the lead, and then, again, beat out by journalism. There's no journalism. Really the only horses that could catch him in here is probably Baeza, and maybe a long shot, just sneaky play in here. But I think Gosger should have that ability to, again, sit off the lead, make his run like we've seen him do. And this time, there's no journalism that could catch him. The biggest one that could catch him again is probably going to be Baeza, and I feel like those two are going to be running really well at the end of the race. And the last one, we have number 10, Moplex. Ramos, Engelhart coming in with 12-1 on this one by complexity. Started off his career 3 wins, just looked phenomenal. 10-length win against New York Breds as his maiden. Won the Sanford, 3rd in the Champagne, the Bayshore at Aqueduct and the Ohio Derby, winning both of those. So does have a pretty good resume. Set the pace in the Jim Dandy, and then he was stumbled at the start, but he got out early, but then kind of faded to 4th. So we'll see if this big 1 1/8 kind of plays into fact, if Moplex can get this kind of distance. He's kind of has the running style to be there at the end. I just think there's some other horses in here that are well tough, bigger class, and are in great form right now. So we kind of did a rundown through the field, so we'll kind of give you this one more time. Again, our top pick is going to be number 9, Gosger. Just love Brendan Walsh, Luis Saez connections here. Kind of like the horse, again, coming out of 2 really good races in the Haskell and the Preakness. I think this is a really good layoff, a good opportunity to pick up, that Breeders' Cup entry opportunity to run in the Classic, as we can maybe see, or who knows where they end up. But I kind of like the way the direction the horse is running. So Gosger is going to be our top pick at 4-1. Second, obviously, it's Baeza, 2-1, Sheriffs and Hector Barrios. Another one, there's no journalism that's going to be running him down or kind of coming from behind him, or one that he's got to beat out. So I think Gosger and Baeza are kind of in luck. There's no journalism that they have to worry about. So there's obviously going to be the 1s and the 2s. Long shot picks in here. Obviously, the 4, David of Athens, look really good for another Walsh horse, so it's kind of interesting that he's entering 2. And then Big Truz for Brian Lynch and Javier Castellano. Just one that I could see being sneaky on the lead. We're going to have a lot of early speed type horses, so it could be something on the front end that just kind of falls apart. And that kind of obviously kind of gives a better advantage to those that are going to come from off the pace, Gosger, Baeza. But if they let Big Truz go, maybe he goes with Magnitude. It could fall right into his lap, and he could be at a pretty big price, because a lot of these horses probably aren't going to take a whole lot of money. Magnitude, goal-oriented, Baeza, Gosger probably going to be your money takers, and then everybody else kind of just going to pick up a little bit of money here and there. So some good value underneath, a lot of value all across the board. If you can get that top 1, 2, and 3, you're looking at a pretty decent trifecta if you can get them in the correct order, if you box them, or if they're just there at the end. So there's our picks for the Pennsylvania Derby. We hope you enjoy the video. Let us know in the comments down below your picks for the Cotillion and the Pennsylvania Derby. And make sure to subscribe. Enjoy, guys.